So I wanted to show you this video. This is Bernie Sanders highlighting some of the specific things that Joe Biden should do in order to win over some of his supporters. He's talking about some of the things that Bernie's going to bring up at the debate Sunday. Let's go ahead and watch.
And that is that Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in the modern history of our country, and he must be defeated. Tragically, we have a president today who is a pathological liar and who is running a corrupt administration. He clearly does not understand the Constitution of the United States and thinks that he is a president who is above the law. In my view, he is a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and a religious bigot, and he must be defeated, and I will do everything in my power to make that happen. Last night, obviously, was not a good night for our campaign from a delegate point of view. We lost in the largest state up for grabs yesterday, the state of Michigan. We lost in Mississippi, Missouri, and Idaho. On the other hand, we won in North Dakota, and we lead the vote count in the state of Washington, the second largest state contested yesterday, with 67% of the votes having been counted. We are a few thousand votes on top. What became even more apparent yesterday is that while we are currently losing the delegate count, approximately 800 delegates for Joe Biden and 660 for us, we are strongly winning in two enormously important areas which will determine the future of our country. Poll after poll, including exit polls, show that a strong majority of the American people support our progressive agenda. The American people are deeply concerned about the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality in this country, and the American people want the wealthy and large profitable corporations to start paying their fair share of taxes. Overwhelming support for that. The American people understand that the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. They want to raise the minimum wage in this country to a living wage of at least $15 an hour. And the American people understand that if our kids are going to make it into the middle class of this country, we must make public colleges and universities and trade schools tuition free. The American people understand that we cannot continue a cruel and dysfunctional healthcare system. And it is amazing to me to see that even in conservative states like Mississippi, there is an overwhelming understanding that we are now spending twice as much per capita on healthcare as do the people of any other country, while 87 million of us remain uninsured or underinsured. And this crisis, this absurd healthcare system, is becoming more and more obvious to the American people as we face the challenge of the coronavirus pandemic that we are currently experiencing. Imagine facing a pandemic and having 87 million people who are having a difficult time going to a doctor when they need. And the American people know, unlike Donald Trump, that climate change is an existential threat to our country and the planet, and that we need to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And the American people also know that we need fundamental transformation of a broken and racist criminal justice system, as well as a cruel immigration system that keeps millions of people living in fear. But it is not just the ideological debate that our progressive movement is winning. We are winning the generational debate. While Joe Biden continues to do very well with older Americans, especially those people over 65, our campaign continues to win the vast majority of the votes of younger people. And I am talking about people not just in their 20s, but in their 30s and their 40s. The younger generations of this country continue in very strong numbers to support our campaign. Today, I say to the Democratic establishment, in order to win in the future, you need to win the voters who represent the future of our country, and you must speak to the issues of concern to them. You cannot simply be satisfied by winning the votes of people who are older. While our campaign has won the ideological debate, we are losing the debate over electability. I cannot tell you how many people our campaign has spoken to who have said, and I quote, "I like what your campaign stands for. I agree with what your campaign stands for, but I'm going to vote for Joe Biden because I think Joe is the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump." End of quote. We have heard that statement all over this country. Needless to say, I strongly disagree with that assertion. But that is what millions of Democrats and independents today believe. On Sunday, I very much look forward to the debate in Arizona with my friend Joe Biden. And let me be very frank as to the questions that I will be asking Joe. Joe, what are you going to do for the 500,000 people who go bankrupt in our country because of medically related debt? And what are you going to do for the working people of this country and small business people who are paying on average 20% of their incomes for healthcare? Joe, what are you going to do to end the absurdity of the United States of America being the only major country on earth where healthcare is not a human right? Are you really going to veto a Medicare for all bill if it is passed in Congress? Joe, how are you going to respond to the scientists who tell us we have 7 or 8 years remaining to transform our energy system before irreparable harm takes place to this planet because of the ravages of climate change? Joe, at a time when most young people need a higher education to make it into the middle class, what are you going to do to make sure that all of our people can go to college or trade school regardless of their income? And what are you going to do about the millions of people who are struggling with outrageous levels of student debt?
So you look at what Bernie Sanders says. First off, he indicates Trump is the most dangerous president in modern history. He goes on to talk about the future of this country and how the Democratic Party needs to pay attention to the future of this country, young people. People that are usually under that age of 45 has been discussed. And so these people vote for Bernie in high numbers. So if the party doesn't change in the next 20 years, what are these people going to do? People like me, I'm 26 years old. What are these people going to do if the party doesn't change in the future to support a single-payer system, support Medicare for all? He goes on to say that ideologically he is winning. He goes on to indicate that his positions are popular throughout the country. And he highlights that despite the fact that his positions are popular throughout the country, he's still losing on that topic of electability. People don't think he's as electable as Joe Biden. This brings up the question, if he would not have been calling himself a democratic socialist from the beginning, would he be doing better right now? I think he would be, personally. If he would have been saying we're going to have a mixed economy, we're not going to do it with capitalism, but we're going to increase the safety net, and we're going to make the economy more fair. We're going to make it work better for the average person. He has had that type of message, but he does use the label democratic socialist. He uses the term political revolution, and that's something that may be scary to people, especially the older generations right now that have grown up just being blasted with anti-socialist ideas. Talks about how people say, I like what you stand for, but I think Joe Biden will win. Again, Bernie Sanders could sway a lot of people, as he is right now, but especially if he wouldn't have been using the term democratic socialist, or if he stopped using the term. So Bernie Sanders, with the things that he said, media says that he's spreading the blame. There's nothing in his speech that looks like he's spreading the blame. By the way, I got that footage from the Young Turks. But he goes on to ask Biden those questions. He says, what are you going to do about the 500,000 people that are going bankrupt from medical debt? Understand, these are people who the Affordable Care Act doesn't necessarily affect. The Affordable Care Act affects a certain income demographic that's lower than a lot of people that are negatively impacted with medical debt. He said, what about the people that are giving 20% of their income to healthcare? So what are you going to do about the U.S. being the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee healthcare? These are good positions to debate Joe Biden on. Just know, no matter what happens with this election, Bernie will go down in the history books for his push for Medicare for all, his push for a single payer system. He'll go down in history for that. And the U.S. hopefully will one day have a single payer system, and the people that make that happen will credit Bernie Sanders. I don't personally agree on every single policy item that Bernie Sanders wants to do. I don't want recreational marijuana to be legal. That's not something that's going to make our economy more productive. It will lead to more underage use. I'm a junior high teacher, and I'm confident that that would lead to more junior high and high school students using marijuana, and it would lead to more people driving while they were high. But I do agree with Medicare for all, and that's one of the biggest issues in my book. I do agree that college should be affordable. Maybe not wipe out everyone's student debt, but there should definitely be more student debt relief, and it should be more affordable. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. We'll be coming out with more on history and politics.